absolutely beautiful day here, and absolutely packed as well. There's Fernando Alonso. He's the man, he's the Grand Marshal here, looking as smart as he possibly can. I'm joined, my name is Bob Constanduris, I'm joined here by Giles Dawson. It is absolutely fantastic. There are so many. They were queuing last night at 11 o'clock at night. They were queuing to get in 8 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely, it's an absolutely glorious day here, and we've just seen the rather full grid walk, and
Gérard Depardieu.
There were some big cheers going out as he walked down the grid earlier. Escorted, he is absolutely escorted by the Alpine guys. And Fernando's just been out to do a lap in a extremely pretty classic Ferrari.
Well, great to see, and of course Jean-Todt here as well, and Fernando giving a big welcome there to Mark Webber. We've had all sorts of people here. There is Bruno Senna driving an Aston, all sorts of people. And this was Fernando in this gorgeous, what's that, P3, P4?
P4, I think that is.
Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous car. Lots and lots of stars out here, and they're all good friends. And that's for Loïc Duval, who had a big accident in practice. Was actually totally uninjured, but very shaken about. And amazingly, Audi rebuilt that car very, very rapidly. Just incredible that they rebuilt it so quickly.
Absolutely, and switching the driver lineup there, we see Marc Genet into that car, moving across from the Jota LMP2 Zytek, with Ollie Turvey replacing him in that Zytek.
Well, look at that scene. It really is. Le Mans is a reasonable sized town, but when it comes to race day, 250,000 people, probably 250,000. And here is the ZEOD. This is a fascinating car, isn't it, Charles? Absolutely extraordinary.
Absolutely. These guys have actually been up for 38 hours straight now. Nissan achieving 2 of their major goals in the last 24 hours. They have done a 300 km/h all-electric run down the Mulsanne Straight, and we saw them this morning in warm-up. Some very bleary eyes in the garage, but a lot of emotion when that car did its first all-electric lap, so 0 emissions.
Well, the car is it looks as though it's a 3-wheeler, but it's actually 4 wheels, isn't it?
It is. It's got some very narrow tyres on the front, that especially developed by Michelin for that project. But one of the key things is in that car how light it is on the tyres. They use very little fuel, and something we'll definitely be talking about as the race goes on. Be good to see those guys mixing it with the LMP2 cars once they settle into the race.
Well, here are the various different types of car we saw briefly there, because there are 4 different classes, and we start in a moment with the GTE-Am class. Now, the GT cars are actually the same. Jean-Todt talking to Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich there of Audi. The GT cars are exactly the same in terms of specification. It's just that crews are different. So we'll be going to GTE-Am shortly, but that basically means there is an amateur driver in the car, bronze-rated driver, plus silver, plus gold.
Absolutely, and that's just depends on what the driver's experience is to date. The FIA give a score, and it's often a little contentious as to where people fall, and it's very important if you've got a serious Pro-Am lineup there out to challenge for the victory to ensure you've got the right balance of pace there. But it's great to see some of the Pro-Am cars, some of the pros, including young Sam Bird, really shaking up the order in GTE.
Yeah,
overall.
There are such good drivers. Now, we're basically seeing the warm-up lap here, with drivers going round and taking up their grid positions. And this is the Porsche 919 hybrid. We'll come to that in a moment. We've got 24 hours in which to talk about these cars, so we're not going to try and squeeze it all into the half hour before the start. But
absolutely. So what we're seeing now, I think a couple of people have actually been caught out and not made it to grid. So we've had the big grid walk, the grid full of several thousand people, VIP guests and the like, with the cars lined up in the traditional Le Mans start formation along the pit wall, and now the teams being allowed to get to work on those cars, so they're allowed to do a couple of installation laps if they like, including coming back through the pit lane to fill the tanks up, which is why we're now seeing some very slow outlaps.
Well, it's only open, the pit lane is only open for another minute, so it would be unwise to come straight back into the pits, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. We won't be seeing anyone coming back into the pits now. They wouldn't get the fuel in time and get it back round. So cars now coming to grid full of fuel, as heavy as we're going to see them throughout the race. And we expect this first stint to be normally a lap shorter than what we expect for the rest of the race from all the top guys. But let's see how it pans out. I do think some of the GTE class cars didn't get away from the initial pre-grid, and therefore we are going to have some pit lane starters, but more on that when we have it.
Yeah, we'll have to see who is going to start from the pits. Absolutely fantastic conditions here. It's great to have these conditions rather than the wet.
Absolutely. 12 months ago we were dodging the showers, and a couple of laps in we saw the rain start, so it doesn't look like that's going to happen today. We will go through the weather with you guys later on, slightly closer to the start of the race, when we've got a better idea, because we are expecting, depending which forecast you look at, a shower a couple of hours into this race.
Right.
Certainly building up to a thunderstorm, I think, around here, but some forecasts showing nothing of it, and lots of teams talking about it, so let's see who's got that right.
Indeed. Well, we've got LMP1 cars, LMP2 cars, GTE-Pro and GTE-Am, and GTE-Pro is very much 4 factory cars, so an absolutely fascinating tussle there between Chevrolet, Aston Martin, Porsche and Ferrari. LMP2 is very much certainly not amateur drivers, but teams which are not factory teams. They can buy the chassis, buy the engines, etc. Whereas LMP1, we've got the major cars from LMP1. There's number 97, and that is third in GTE-Pro, being driven by Stefan Mucker, sharing with Darren Turner and Bruno Senna. We're on board here with number 91, one of the Porsches. They haven't featured all that fantastically well so far. Number 92 is in 6th place. That's the teammate of 91.
Absolutely. Those guys got caught out, unfortunately, by something we saw at the end of the final qualifying session, where we had a yellow slow zone, which we'll talk about later. They were ready to go for a run. The 91 car had unfortunately at that stage been pushed apart ferme with a drive shaft failure, something we've seen from both of those cars, and I believe there might have been a fix wheeled up the auto routes and autobahns yesterday for that repeat issue that they've seen with those cars.
Well, they had identified what the problem was. Number 81 there is the fastest of the GTE-Am cars. It was actually driven by Sam Bird, who is no Am at all. He's a very, very quick professional driver. And there's the, there we are, GTE-Am. He's sharing with Michele Rugolo and the Australian driver Steve Wyatt from Western Australia. I'm told he's a crusher. Or has a crushing business, so that's very good with minerals.
Yeah, and Steve, one of the guys that I think actually we call them gentleman drivers. They very much behave like gentlemen out of the car, which is probably a good reason to call them that. But some very handy gentlemen out there. Simon Dolan being one that really springs to mind in that Jota car that's sitting second on the LMP2 grid, alongside the little superstars that are Harry Ticknell and Oliver Turvey. So we're just seeing the rest of the cars come into grid now. The 91, that's the 92 Porsche coming through. These cars, of course, left the pit lane on time, but just a very slow outlap to ensure they use absolute minimum amount of fuel possible.
And that's the 6th in class car. It's going to be started by Fred Makovici there, the French driver who was formerly associated with Aston Martin. He set the fastest time. Here are the GTE-Pro requirements, as you can see there written on the screen. And so GTE 6th in class there for the Porsche.
Yeah, that car, heavy development. Obviously, they're coming in as reigning champions. certainly of the Le Mans 24-hour. Fantastic to see those guys back with such an amazing GTE program, as well as the presence in Le Mans Prototype 1. And there we see the ZEOD, the Nissan ZEOD, coming down, and we'll be able to identify when that car is running on electric power and when it's running on its IC engine from the lights, the lead lights on the car. Certainly the one, if you look at leading at the top of the fin above the cockpit, if that's blue, that car is in all-electric mode.
Ah, right. So there is third in GTE-Pro class. That's the Turner Mucker Senna car. Mucker having set the time, and Darren Turner actually starting in that car, 97 Aston Martin. And number 73 should be next. The pit lane has only just closed, and there's still quite a few drivers just taking up their grid positions. Quite a few cars coming past in front of us. 73 there, second in class, fantastic. Jan Magnussen, father of Kevin, actually starts in that car. There he is. Hasn't got quite the hair of Kevin, his son. Antonio Garcia set the time, and Jordan Taylor, they are 30th on the grid. There it is, the 73 Chevrolet Corvette. And
that car, obviously, the first time we've seen that car running in Europe, newly homologated just before this race. So fantastic to see the guys from Corvette back over here with a serious program with that new C7R.
Number 24 coming in there. We're looking out for, actually, the first-in-class Ferrari.
I think it's just coming to grid, which is why we haven't yet seen that car. Here it is. Yep. It just came past us, so the guys obviously wanting to keep the fuel nice and cool rather than sitting on the grid for a while. Jimmy
Bruni setting the time and starting in that car with Tony Vallanda and Giancarlo Fisichella. There you are. There's the top three. Number 51, AF Corsa Ferrari. They've got something like 9 cars here, AF Corsa, run by Amato Ferrari from Piacenza, but with help from Michelotto, because they've got so many cars.
Absolutely, and Michelotto, the guys that build those 458s, nobody knows those cars better. Cristiano and his crew here with a mammoth amount of spares. I know that he's been tearing his hair out for the last few weeks trying to prepare enough bits as another car got added to the entry and another car got added to the entry as this evolved. But no, those Ferrari 458s, obviously not winners here last year, but they were world champions. So this is part of the World Endurance Championship, a double point scoring round. So we'll see how that one runs. The GTE class, though, definitely going to be a fantastic battle throughout, as always.
Well, GT1, we were hoping to go rather LMP1 and LMP2. We're going actually reverse order, but we haven't quite done that, so we've slightly jumped that. So let's look at who is on pole position. That's the Toyota of Kazuki Nakajima, who set the time. Alexander Wurth starts, and Stefan Sarrazin will be in the car as well. Those are the 3 drivers in the Toyota number 7, and then Porsche number 14 sits alongside 14, because we are in 2014. We'll come to that in a moment. Romain Dumas set the time. Neil Jani start in that car, and Mark Lieb is the 3rd driver. We'll go into the technicalities of that later. And then 3rd on the grid is number 8 Toyota, with Anthony Davidson, Nicolas Lapierre, who starts in that car, and Sebastian Buemi. Now, here we go with reverse overall, 13th overall, the Morgan Nissan of Rusnov, Pla and Canal. And this is LMP2. We are perhaps going into the reverse sequence now. Apologies. That's the G-Drive car. So it's 4th in class, that car. Number 26, Morgan. It's called a Morgan. It's actually built by Oak. So, hola, Fernando Alonso. If he looks a little sad, you'll probably know what the football score was last night.
I don't.
well, I left it at half-time. I think it was something like 5-1 or something.
Oh, dear.
To Holland against Spain, so he could be looking a little miserable this morning. He's just been mountain biking, incidentally, in Canada with Carlos Sainz, both Carlos Sainzes. So there's somebody trying to get into the circuit for free. Now, in 12th, here we are, 12th on the grid is the Ligier of Jan Mardenborough. He set the time and starts in the car. Alex Brundle, son of Martin, and Schultz Hitzky in the Oak Racing. This is 3rd in class, that particular car, the Ligier number 35. Here we are, number 38, the Zytek of Simon Dolan, Harry Ticknell, who starts in the car and set the time. Oliver Turvey has been drafted into that car. Originally it was Mark Genet. He's moved up into LMP1. We'll come to that in a moment. Motorsport, Zytek starting 11th on the grid and second in class. And then first in class is the Ligier, number 46. Done a fantastic job. 2 Ligiers there, first and third. Brand new cars.
Absolutely. This is the first time we've seen that car run competitively. We've done lots of testing around Magny-Cours, but again, built by the Onroque guys, the same guys we saw building the Morgan. So that chassis, brand new, seems reliable so far.
And that's Thierry Badi and Gomendi in that car. Then we come to the first of the LMP1 cars, petrol class, light. There's no hybrid involved in that. And in fact, the 2 Rebellions basically made by Orica here in France. And that's Dominic Crayhammer, Andrea Bellicchi, who starts in that car, and Fabio Lima, the reigning GP2 champion, and the reigning GP2 champion set the time in Rebellion number 13, and just ahead of it is its teammate Rebellion number 12, both of them powered by Toyota normally aspirated engines. And Nick Heidfeld
sounding fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Nick Heidfeld will start in that car. Matthias Betsch actually spent the time, in spite of the fact that Nicolas Prost is also in that car. But we'll come to that in just a moment.
So we're seeing the famous trophy there on top of the podium. Fernando Alonso just about to be delivered the green flag.
And there is the number 12 Rebellion. Ostensibly a Swiss team, but actually running from Kent, I believe.
Absolutely. I think they've just moved into Farnborough, actually.
Oh, right.
The guys making the move from the old Lister workshops a little while back.
And there we go to the 7th placed Audi number 1. This is the car that, well, the original car was crashed badly by Loic Duval. This car was built up in about 8 or 9 hours. It's brand new. Marc Genet takes Duval's place. Di Grassi and Christensen, Lucas Di Grassi and Tom Christensen, the 9-time winner, bidding for victory number 10 in that Audi number 1. They start 7th on the grid. 6th on the grid is Audi number 2. Here it is. Andre Lotterer set the time and starts. Marcel Fessler from Switzerland is alongside him. Benoit Trelouillet is in that car as well. And we're going to have a look at the weather in a moment. Then comes Audi number 3, however, Albuquerque, Bononomi, and Oliver Jarvis, Marco Bononomi. There it is. Starts 5th on the grid. And then 4th on the grid will be the first of the Porsches. Here it is, or one of the 2 Porsches. Porsche 919, Timo Bernhardt, Mark Webber and Brendan Hartley. The time was set by Timo Bernhardt, and he also starts in that car. There's the basic technicalities of that, but the Antipodean car with Mark Webber and Brendan Hartley there from Australia and New Zealand respectively. And then 3rd on the grid, the number 8 Toyota of Anthony Davison, Nicolas Lapierre and Sébastien Buemi. Sébastien Buemi actually set the time in that. Nicolas Lapierre will start in it. Of course, in fact, qualifying fizzled out, a bit of a damp squid on Thursday evening, because there was yellow flags out on the circuit, so no one was able to improve, but there was going to be a real top 10 shootout, or top 6 shootout right at the end, and it never happened. Here it is on the front row of the grid, the Porsche number 14, 2014 being the year that Porsche come back into World Endurance Racing. Romain Dumas, Neil Jani and Mark Lieb in this car, and it's Neil Jani who starts in it, and Romain Dumas set the time. And finally, the pole position car of Kazuki Nakajima for Toyota. It's Alexander Wurz who starts. Kazuki Nakajima set the time, and Stéphane Sarrazin is the 3rd driver, very talented French driver as well. So there we are. That's the way they line up, or the major players line up. There's so many more. There's about 54 cars out there. Some of them aren't even out there. There was an accident this morning for Mika Salo. I think the car's repaired.
Absolutely. The guys at SMP managed to get that car back together. A frightening left front puncture on the entry to the Porsche curves, and he just caught the barrier. It was very, very lucky the angle angle he went in at, it did very little damage to that car.
I think it broke the seat, because I saw Mika a little while ago, and he's not feeling all that fit. It was a little bit shaken about.
It's certainly the way the car skipped across the gravel trap. The barrier did exactly what it's there to do, and fantastic job from the ACO guys on improving the safety of this circuit in the wake of what happened last year.
Well, we've got 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes now, 9 minutes to go, and they'll be setting off on a parade lap behind the safety car, which will do one final parade lap. Number 35 there are various onboard cameras. Alexander Bullett's there. Sadly, we won't be hearing from him. He's always an amusing, laconic guy to listen to.
So the green...
These brave guys who stand in the middle of the grid. I often worry how much they get paid to do that.
They're all volunteers, I think. All the marshals here, lots of British marshals coming over, but marshals from all around Europe, because it's such a mammoth task to manage this event.
It's just going to be fascinating, this race, because I think you're going to see a column of 7 cars, Audis, Porsches, Toyotas, just pulling away on their own, and then after about 4 or 5 laps they'll catch the rest of the field, and then they'll just be weaving. It'll be a bit like going on the M25 at sort of rush hour and just weaving your way through everybody.
Absolutely, and let's hope that those guys are safe as they do that. It's one of the big challenges, and you're absolutely right, those LMP1 cars are going to be cutting their way through. Far easier this year for the LMP1 cars to actually get past this slower traffic. One of the key changes with the new cars that we see here this year for these new regulations is they do have an awful lot more straight line speed. So we shouldn't see braking zone issues anymore of trying to dive past at the last second.
Well, it's going to be... There's Brendan Hartley.
Brendan, the superstar in that car for me. He's just come to this like a duck to water, and I think Mark had a lot to do with getting him in that car, Mark Webber, and they're just absolutely fantastic. He keeps saying that he has to pinch himself every day.
I'm sure he does, yeah. His career was, as we've been saying, was a bit lost for a while.
Absolutely.
Driving, excuse me, he was even driving historic cars at one point.
He was, and
then he'll drive anything, won't he?
He will, and that's one of the fantastic things about these guys. We definitely see a lot more of these guys doing a lot more diverse things in their spare time, and probably one of the reasons Mark chose to come and away from Formula One, come here, a bit more free time. Yes, it's a world championship, but certainly a lot less time consuming than the 19 or 20 rounds of a Formula One World Championship. So we see the cars now coming down the Mulsanne straight. You see the cars weaving, trying to generate tyre temperature. They've been sitting on the grid, the cockpit's heating up, I'm sure, but everything else cooling down. So they're weaving to generate tyre temperature. You'll see them using the brakes to try and heat the wheel, which helps heat the tyre. So lots of energy going into the cars, just putting energy into those tyres to ensure that they are ready for operating temperature as soon as they see that green flag in about probably 6 minutes time. 6 minutes,
yes. They've got to cool it a bit, haven't they? Because they're getting covering some ground.
Absolutely, it does look like fairly quick green flag lap. But they've got to get all these things up to temperature, and then they can, as they come through the Porsche curve, start to back the cars back up again and get ready for this rolling start that we're going to see here, the iconic rolling start. It's just the sight to behold as they head towards the Dunlop chicane.
Well, these first 7 cars are hybrids. That is to say, they have electric power as well as either diesel, or in the case of Audi, or petrol power in the case of the other 2 cars. An extraordinary mixture of different technologies basically coming to equal the same performance. Extraordinary, and it's quite a difficult thing to explain in a matter of minutes, but we've got 24 hours, so we should be able to get through it by this time tomorrow afternoon. But here they are, these it was 54 cars, I think, Whether it still is, I'm not certain. There may be 1 or 2 in the pits, including number 62, we were told, might be in the pits as well. Light rain reported already at Marshall Post 70, and that's towards Mulsanne Corner, if you know the very far end of the circuit, as it were. So
that's interesting. Very similar to what we saw last year, that rain starting to fall at the start of the race, as we see the ZEOD weaving from side to side as it comes down the last section of the Mulsanne Straight.
Now, Fernando, do you know about all this stuff? I mean, we've seen the odd footballer forgetting to wave the flag and things like that.
We have, absolutely. And obviously we have a very famous footballer here in the GTE class.
Fabien Barthez. Amazing, isn't it?
Fulfilling his lifelong dream, he says. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure, later on. But yeah, lots of people here making their dreams come true. So the car's now just heading out of Mulsanne on the run to Indianapolis behind that Audi R8 course car. So it'll be down to Alan driving the R8, yes, our Grand Marshal this year, while Fernando waves the flag. So those guys, some high-profile people, and of course Alan choosing to retire as world champion. So he once again leads the field.
Yeah, fantastic for Alan McNish. And Fernando's looking more and more nervous with that flag, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. The trickle all ready to be waved when they come past, and yeah, we'll. So that's the Toyota guys just saying that there is a very low risk of this shower. This is something that had been predicted all week, but the forecast that I've been looking at does seem to suggest that we will have some rain, but later on in this, probably into the second stint of the race, these guys will be completing 13 or 14 laps, probably these first stints 13, before coming in to refuel, and generally these first drivers staying in the cars at that point.
Well, the thing about these opening stages, particularly this first lap, you might be able to pick up the odd place here and there. You can gain a bit, but you can lose an awful lot.
Absolutely, and you know, something that we've seen quite a lot over recent years at early safety cars. Something we hope we don't see this year.
Get your Le Mans 24 Hours app. There it is on Google, Facebook.com. Lots and lots of Le Mans, really, actually, the ACO and Le Mans really embracing all types of new media. There's web TV here as well. So there's no excuse for not following us all the way through the 24 hours, wherever you are. It's on Twitter as well, at 24 Hours Du Mans.
Yeah, and the hashtag, the famous hashtag now, which is trending on Twitter, hashtag LM24. So we're seeing the cars now come through those the Porsche curves, very famous corners where we've seen an awful lot of incident over the last 3 days. The new Tech Pro barrier there on the left-hand side that you can see installed to aid the marshals, really. It was a very safe corner anyway, but a lot easier to replace that Tech Pro barrier than it is a solid Armco. So we're going to start to see the cars now fanning out into the 2x2 formation. It's going to be interesting, actually. This Ford chicane now having these jumbo curves that we'll talk about later. I don't think they're going to get through it 2x2.
So here we come. Heading, they've got a minute to go, so they'll be slowing them down. That really bunches them up as well, which is not perhaps the ideal thing. But they begin to take up their grid position 2x2. Still 45 seconds. We don't see them here. We're looking over the Ford chicane. And here it comes.
Alex now controlling the pace. He becomes the safety car.
A button on the green light. 20 seconds to go, 20 seconds. And McNish pulls off. In a moment, not quite yet. He actually uses a different, doesn't come into the pit lane, and now he pulls off. And 5 seconds to go. Amazing stuff. And Alonso with the flag. There it is.
The Toyota romping away at the start there, absolutely blinding, using its supercapacitor to get away from the rest out of the Ford chicane there.
And the clock starts, the Rolex clock starts and winds down. And it's still Toyota. Ooh, Porsche off there. Audi trying to get past the second of the Porsches, that of Timo Bernhardt.
And I think the Porsches kept that position. As we see them head through Tertre Rouge down onto the Mulsanne Straight. This is what we expect to see for certainly the whole of this first stint. This train of cars now just breaking away from those Rebellion R1s and romping off into the into the rain shower at the end of the Mulsanne.
And it's the number 2 Audi that's looking very threatening to its teammate number 3, and number 2 Audi looking as though he's going to get past that Andre Lotterer, and he's done the job. So 2 moves up, I think. So
absolutely, and we'll see here, this is one place we're going to begin to see how these cars use their energy differently around the lap. The Audi's not so good in this second sector, the long Mulsanne Straight. They'll drop back, but they pull all that time back once they come to the Porsche curves.
So it's pretty much in grid order as it was, with these 7 cars beginning to pull away from the 2 Rebellions, which will be behind them, the 2 Rebellion cars. And there it is, the nervousness of the first few laps always, and then it'll be the nervousness of the traffic as well, as these guys get used to these incredible closing speeds. But it's an absolute thrill. They love it. The drivers absolutely love it. There are the 2 Rebellions, and then we go to LMP2.
The LMP2 battle at the moment, I think, still led by that Ligier Coupe. As we see them going out, Harry Ticknall has now taken the lead in the LMP2 class and is romping away, actually. He was 8/10 faster than Justin Gomendi in the Ligier, but Jan Mardenborough still 3rd in that class.
Ligier, a brand new car, a coupe rather than an open top car, and there's a couple of them, and they've been extremely well run and have run right up at the front in qualifying, so well done to them. And still Alexander Wurz out in front, enjoying, I suspect, a completely clear road for the first time probably this weekend, as it were, because it all started on Wednesday. We had 4 hours of practice, then 2 hours of qualifying, then 2 more lots of 2 hours of qualifying on Thursday. Nothing yesterday, although it's very busy with media stuff and all that sort of thing. And then a warm-up this morning. You were probably here for that. And now here we are. And it's interesting how they've broken up now, with Wurz about to burst into our sights. Ooh, it's looking a bit... And that is a Porsche being demoted by the first of the Audis.
Number 2 Audi. So we now have that 2 Audi ahead, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly they can chase down the next Toyota, as we see the Toyota's now going 1 and 2. The 14 Porsche demoted. So we now have Toyota, Porsche, Audi.
I think the Porsche's sort of slipping back a bit, isn't it? That
the 20 car,
yeah,
yes,
20
that's now
cars.
back behind the other Audis.
Yeah.
I wonder if we've got an issue here for that car.
Well, the thing is, once you get overtaken by one and you get put offline a little bit, you get dirt on the tyres, etc., you lose the pace, and all the others just file through almost.
Absolutely, and just be interested to see an onboard with that car and see the energy being used, just to make sure they haven't got any other issues there.
And these LMP1 cars already on the Mulsanne Straight. Meanwhile, in front of us, there's a queue of Ferraris and Porsches and Astons, and they haven't even started the second lap yet. Look at that. Looks very threatening, that cloud, but I don't think it is quite as threatening as it looks. It is a bit dark, but looking out of the window, but it's not that bad. Right at the back there, who's that?
That's the 62 Ferrari. I think that's the car we expected to take it gently from the start and lead in. Those guys all here to finish.
They had problems with their high-pressure fuel pump, and I think they probably started from the pit lane. So let's just have a look at the, because this is a very long lap, or very long race, although there's a sprint out in front, yes, 54 starters, and they've all gone through, and none of them into the pits as yet.
So Harry Ticknell there breaking away from the Tillier by TDS Ligier. Good to see Harry just getting his head down and getting on with it. He did say to me yesterday that he felt that that car had a lot more in it in qualifying, and they were another one caught out by the slow zone at the end of the qualifying 3 session.
Battle for 6th position there between number 1, Tom Christensen, and Timo Bernhard, who has sort of been, as I say, relegated to the back of the LMP1 field, the LMP1 hybrid field.
But now monstering the back of that Audi and just about to pull out. He's back past. I think he's going to have that. No, shuts the door, heading into Indianapolis.
So Toyota out in the lead still, Alexander Wurz coming into the Porsche curves.
Definitely breaking away and making a run for it. You know, one of the things that's been heavily rumoured for the last few weeks is that Audi will use one of those cars as a hare and try and break the Toyotas and the Porsches. But we're not seeing that. We just don't see the raw pace from that Audi to allow them to be able to go and send a hare to make those Toyotas really stretch their legs. And of course the Porsche, a very new car, they have had their reliability problems throughout the first couple of rounds of the WEC, but hopefully fixed now, ready for the big event.
So Porsche 1-2, Wurz, Lapierre, and then it's next up is Neil Jani in the Porsche, then the 3 Audis, Lotterer, Bononomi and Christensen, and then Bernhardt, and then we have the LMP1L of Nick Heidfeld, followed by teammates Andrea Bellicchi.
We see on the screen that Corvette C7, Bob. This is the GTE class lead battle, so the 51 car managing to break away by the looks of it, and all of those cars breaking away from the Porsches, which I'm very surprised about. So Ferrari, Corvette in the GTE class. I think the Aston sitting there in 4th.
Well, we've still got Sam Bird up there, second in the Am. Sorry, second overall in GT and first in Am, beaten only by his teammate Jimmy Bruni in the number 51 Ferrari.
Absolutely, these cars, more your street cars, far removed from that, but you can certainly recognise the shape of these things as they come through past us now at the Ford chicane, and the Porsche just coming, actually, I think, catching onto the back of that pack. So it's going to be very interesting to see. We have all the manufacturers represented there in that queue of cars.
And a queue of cars it is too, absolutely, going past in front of us. The Corvette is second in class in the Pro class, then the Aston of Darren Turner in Pro. Second in Am is Nicky Thiem in the Aston, followed by Pedro Lamy. I mean, these are top-notch guys, you know. It's only actually when the Ams get in that things might change a bit.
Absolutely, as we see a replay of the start here, and everyone filing through this new tighter Ford chicane, not able to come through quite so easily side by side, but there was definitely almost some contact there with the 20.
Yeah.
I think he just got pushed out there. It wasn't contact, but he did manage to go around the outside there at the Old Forest S's and hold that position, which he's now subsequently lost.
Well, I don't think they will have had any. I don't think there's any problem. I wouldn't have thought it. But as I say, I think you move offline, you pick up some dust and dirt, and you just haven't got the grip, and you slip back, and then you clean up the tyres. And this is what's going to happen. But later on in the race, I mean, I say later on in about the next 5 minutes, these guys are going to have to start going offline as they go past the GT cars, and that's going to, if the track is got rubber on it, it's dirty, whatever, they're going to pick up all that dust and dirt, that rubber as well. It's going to affect the handling of the cars, but that's something they know about. Yeah. Remember, this is a round of the World Endurance Championship. It's the 3rd round. We've already had Silverstone and Spa, and so this is part of a campaign, one step in a campaign, a very high-profile step in a campaign, but it's one that ends, I think in Sao Paulo, isn't it?
Yes,
Interlagos
absolutely.
In
and
November.
This being the double point scoring round, this is massive. You know, if these Toyotas can take another victory here, then they've almost, you'd say, got that championship sewn up, even with quite a few rounds left to go. Those cars all sticking together. I do wonder whether Porsche have split the strategy here and just want that 20 car to drive round and round and round, and they're sending a hare in the 14 to try and, you know, split it, make sure that they've got one at both ends.
Yeah, you can hear there the whine of the flywheel, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's Audi a flywheel hybrid system. So they charge the flywheel under braking, and then they use that, convert that back to electrical energy to drive all four wheels in the Audi. So that's very interesting technology, new technology for this year. They did a lot more energy this year. They're allowed to use, much like Formula One. They did have hybrid systems here last year, but it's a completely different state of affairs now, as we see the LMP2 battle now coming through in front of us. And again, you know, they're all together.
Harry Tincknell in the Jota car, still leading that from the Ligier of Tristan Gomendi, and then Jan Mardenborough, the former gamer, in the second of the Ligier. So it's Zytek, Ligier, then the Alpine of Nelson Paciatici from France, then Alessandro Imperatore from Switzerland, although he lives in Hong Kong, in the Orica, and Olivier Pla, who has won the first two, the LMP2 class of the first two rounds of World Endurance Championship. So don't expect that Morgan to be back there for all that long. It may be 5th or 6th in class at the moment. And into the pits, our first pit visitor.
That's the 27 car, which is the car that had the incident this morning, interestingly. So clearly something amiss there. Be interesting to see what the issue is. But we do just see on that last lap, Nick Lapierre set the fastest lap of the race so far. 3:23.1. The pace is absolutely phenomenal.
It's only a couple of seconds slower than qualifying.
And this will full 60 litres of fuel on board, or it's now heavily depleting quite quickly. But yeah, those guys, that's chasing down the sister car. So I do wonder if we're going to see a big battle between those two Toyotas, because let's face it, they all want to be world champion drivers, as the LMP2 class not fanning out at all, really.
Amazing, isn't it?
Harry can't get away, can he?
Those first five, very, very close indeed.
Fantastic to see. Again, a great mix of cars there. But the Ligier, that brand new car, certainly hounding it down. And this probably the last time we're going to see that Zytek Z11S here at Le Mans. Those guys going to build a new coupe for next year.
Well, it's really, really close, isn't it, the LMP2 stuff? And it's quite interesting, of course, watching the Audis. They're right behind that Porsche, but they're going to... It's almost as though they're saying to Timo Bernhardt, well, listen to that. You take the traffic first. You discover it first. We'll follow.
Absolutely. I can't really say I'd blame them. It's going to be interesting. We should start seeing them catch traffic in the next lap and a half, 2 laps, as they come back now across the start-finish line.
Toyota. We'll count them through for you. Toyota, then the Porsche, Audi. It's like that, and then there's a gap to the second of the Porsches, and there it is, goes past a sort of rubber inflatable chip bag opposite there, which we'll use as our timing line.
Absolutely. So those guys, we just see a pass there. That's
confounded my theory then, isn't it?
Absolutely, they're pressing on. That's the two Audi getting past the 14 and pressing on with it, as we see a round of applause from the Audi garage. Yeah, I think the Audis now, you know, always strong in the race, always strong. Those guys will have concentrated on race setup throughout the week, and absolutely great to see that battle between the two Volkswagen Group companies.
Well, Andre Lotterer therefore picking up a place to go ahead of Timo Bernhardt.
So also we shouldn't forget that we've got the Nissan ZEOD RC, which we're not seeing on the screens at the moment while we scroll through the LMP1, LMP2, GTE classes, but that car is out there running strongly just behind the LMP2 cars.
Well, the lappery, I think, is about to begin. we're about to see it. This is riding on board with number 14, and that's perhaps taking a place. Is it trying to take a place back? No, not managing to do so from the number 2 Audi. So
this is what we're seeing, the strengths of those cars in very different places on the circuit. So the Audi, we know, not strong down this Mulsanne straight, and I think we're going to see the 14 Porsche here. They use the hybrid system to get up to that maximum velocity. He's now going to pull out, and we're going to see a challenge down into the Audi defending very hard. I'm surprised at this stage in the race they're defending as hard as that down into the Mulsanne corner.
Yes, it's almost sprint stuff, isn't it? There's the scene, 2 different types of, shall we say, German, not indifference, shall we say, calm.
Absolutely, and you know, 2 very different ways of approaching it. Seeing the Audi guys, you know, coming back as defending champions, as we see the 14 now on the run down to Indianapolis doing. I don't think he's going to make that move. I think the Audi, once it has the top speed. The Porsche comes off the corner better, but no, the Audi, which is opposite to what we've been seeing on the sector times. So through Indianapolis now, wants to get back by, but just going to have to settle down as the Toyotas just romp off into the distance. You know, we're just, as we say that, a fastest lap from Alexander Wirtz, reacting to Nick Lapierre, chasing him. The Toyotas doing near identical laps, 3:23.1 for both of those cars, and Andre Lotterer in the first sector on this current lap, setting a fastest sector overall. So pushing to try and close the gap in that number 2 Audi to the Toyotas, but they are getting away from him at over a second a lap at the moment.
Well, here they come. They'll be with us shortly to complete the lap, and there it's as they go past the chips, 1 Toyota, 2 Toyota, or 7 and 8 rather, and the difference between the 2 of them, 2.6 seconds. Then comes the first of the Audi, Porsche, Audi, very, very close, and then the second of the Porsches goes through now.
The 20 car, which we didn't just see there on the screen, taking a huge amount of curve through the Ford chicanes, and I'm very surprised to see that with the drive shaft failures that they've been having, as we see the 14 car nearly getting passed by the 3.
It's getting hounded, isn't he, there by the number 3 Audi, and we saw that Porsche actually challenging the number 2 car, and now it's dropped back and it's now being challenged, but now could be where it pulls away again.
Yeah, I think this is where, certainly throughout the week, we've seen that the Audi's very weak. You know, they've been nearly a couple of seconds down. You do see there the Porsches drive away from the Audi. Interesting, just the strengths in different places, but at the rate he's going, he'll be catching back on to the number 2 Audi by the end of the Mulsanne and having a go at him. But this is what we're going to see throughout the race, the strengths in very different places on the lap due to the different hybrid configurations that these cars have. So the Audi running in the 2 megajoule class with the Porsche in the 6 megajoule class. They are all within LMP1, but there's a table that allows them to use different amount of energy in different ways depending on whether they use hydrocarbon fuels to make that energy, or electricity generated by batteries, flywheels, or supercapacitor.
Well, the first 5 cars in LMP2 were covered by about 1.6 seconds, something like that. That's how close that is. It's just extraordinary. They're all lapping in the 3-minute 41s, somewhere in the low 3-minute 41s, all within 2 or 3 tenths of one another.
They're really pushing on though, Bob. Look at this. We've got 2 purple sectors. The 2 Audi setting another fastest first sector, and then Nick Lapierre trying to chase down Alex Wirtz in the number 7 Toyota. He's just put in a purple sector as well. So when we talk about a purple sector, that's fastest of the race so far overall. So this is looking like a sprint race as we see lap 5, you know, halfway around lap 5. And I can't believe the pace. 3:23s. We were expecting to see stint times somewhere in the 3:26, 27 bracket. So real sprint race at the moment. As we see them coming through the rest of those GTE cars now, catching another of those Ferrari 458s on the run down to Indianapolis.
In GT GTE, we've got Bruni leading in the Ferrari from Jan Magnussen. And now Oliver Gavin, so the two Chevrolets are now ahead of the first of the Am cars, that of Sam Bird in the Ferrari. And then we've got Turner in the Aston, Makovici in the Porsche, and then Team, the second of the Am cars, is next up. So it's very close there as well. They're having tremendous battles. And this is exactly what we were expecting to see. Battles all the way through the field, and we're certainly getting it.
Absolutely. I'm expecting to see a big push from the two factory, the factory Aston and the factory Porsche, to get past Sam Bird and do it. So we're seeing the gap grow slightly there from between the 7 and the 8 car.
Well, now they're right in amongst all the traffic.
Absolutely, and this is where we're going to start to see it yo-yo. It really does depend where you catch the traffic. If you catch the cars here, Dunlop chicane, not so bad in the Dunlop chicane, but the Ford chicane is an absolutely terrible place to catch them, because you've got this double left, right, with these huge curves that you just can't use anymore because of the new baguettes that they put in behind the curb because the car's straight lining it last year.
Well, they've called them baguettes. They're a bit like a loaf of French bread, basically, which is what a baguette is. Riding here on the number 3 Audi in 5th place. But Timo Bernhardt about 4.5 seconds back. And those guys with blue flags, they're going to have a busy weekend, aren't they?
Absolutely. There's an onboard marshalling system as well.
Audi side by side there.
Yeah, is that a change of position? I don't think so. We've still got the 3 car ahead there.
It is. It's Christensen ahead of Bononomi, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. He's gone through.
Showing his class.
So pressing on again and through the traffic, and I think that might have been set up by the traffic as they came on to the Mulsanne straight past Tete Rouge. So Tom getting the job done, and the 9-time champion certainly hungry for his 10th.
And we've got yellow flags there.
Again, another terrible place to catch a GTE car. The gap's going to really start to yo-yo as we see a lot of gravel being pulled onto the circuit there by somebody. Not sure who that was. Car 76 straight on at Marshall Point 42.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's so that was Nicola Almindo, who actually has already been out in a support race earlier on today, so he should know his way around. He comes from just up the road at Rouen, where he runs the IMSA Mahmoud performance team.
I suspect he got a bit of a shock there with some traffic coming at him quite quickly, and that being the reason for the little straight on. Yeah, absolutely, the speed they're coming through these GTE cars, that's phenomenal. But definitely the gap's now starting to open and close. Vert's now with an 11-second gap. He has caught the traffic better, there's no two ways about it. But Nick Lapierre all over the back of that number 2 Audi. The 2 Audis made it through.
Well, exactly, yeah. So the Audi, I mean, in amongst all this traffic, it's just extraordinary.
That's an interesting camera there, and the curb on the exit of the Mulsanne. Oh, as we see the ZEODs coming very slowly down the... is that down through into the Porsche curves? It is. Not that far from the pit, so he'll be able to get that back with a bit of luck. These cars sliding their way through the traffic now, but so it's Toyota, Audi, Toyota, Porsche now.
Now, in amongst all this traffic, 3 minutes 25, 3 minutes 25, 3 minutes 26, so the pace has slowed, as one would expect. But there goes number 7, Alexander Wurz, completing 7 laps. Very, very early stages. Now, a big gap back to the first of the Audis, then the Toyota, then more traffic, and then Porsche. Audi, Porsche.
This has allowed the 20 Porsche to pull onto the back of the, or as we see, car 0 slow, we knew about that one. Yeah, we see the 20 car now catching onto the back of the pair of Audis.
And there is the ZEOD being pushed by marshals, so there'll be yellow flags there.
Lights all still on, so still got some electrical power there. But the light on the roof off, showing that it's not running on electricity. Be interesting to see how what those guys can do. Of course, if the driver can repair the car himself, he can bring it back.
That would be such a shame, because it's such a great effort to have made that car and brought it here as well.
And the guys at RML, having worked through the night last night, those guys are, they're absolutely shattered seeing those guys in the garage earlier. I don't know how they've kept their spirits so high with the amount of work that's gone into that project, but announced here exactly 2 years ago, a year ago, sorry, by Darren Cox and his team.
This is the number 8 Toyota straight lining, and that's what happened.
He did very well to be able to get that car out of the gravel. Keeping it moving there, because he could easily have got that car beached had he not kept the momentum up, and especially as it had gone in sideways. Very, very good driving there. So Alex Wirtz continues to lead from Andre Lotra, but I don't think Nick Lapierre, who we saw spinning there, is going to take very kindly to that. And it was interesting the way that he spun that car on the way into the corner. It wasn't a case of he was on the apex and had a moment, or the traffic had him over. It did just looked almost like it turned right on him.
Well, the gap now, a slow zone procedure is being prepared at MP60. That's the second chicane.
Which is where we've just seen all that gravel coming onto the circuit. So I suspect that they need to get out there and do some sweeping. So this slow zone procedure is something we're going to see regularly throughout the race to prevent them having to put safety cars out.
37 comes back into the pits again. That's Nicholas Manassian. I say back into the pits, of course it isn't. That's the first time. Alexander Wurz saying very strange car behaviour.
So I missed what he actually, the first part of that message was, because he did mention what the issue was there. Be interesting to see certainly the sector times, looking at the sector times now. Sector times quick, so for him to be saying that there's something strange there, that's not reflected on what we're seeing on the screen.
No, very quick time. Look at the middle sector there. It's 1.7 seconds quicker than Lotterer. And actually he has a 14-second advantage. We've also got a slow zone at MP50 as well. That's just before the second chicane coming up.
So that's what we see now, these slow zones to stop the 3 safety cars having to come out. So there'll be a slowing down zone, which is what they've just updated the message. So beginning at Marshall's Point 50, which will be somewhere just down the Mulsanne, that second section of the Mulsanne, and they'll slow to 60 kilometres an hour. We'll probably see the LMP1 cars now doing that as we see the first Audi coming in.
Well, that's a bit of a bit strange after 9 laps.
So the one car, that is 9 laps is an extremely short amount of laps to be doing, but I think what we're seeing here is Audi splitting the strategy. There's so much time lost. We're losing about 30 seconds with these slow zones. So that's actually a fantastic move from the guys at Audi. Getting that car in, Kyle Wilson-Clark pulling it in, hoping that that's going to be cleared quickly so that it doesn't lose the time, and that should springboard it past the other cars.
Yeah, the marshals are clearing the gravel there, and the other thing about this is it also means that not all the Audis will stop. There's 3 of them, and they don't want them all stopping in the same window, do they?
Absolutely. We've always seen Audi split the strategy by a lap to make sure that the cars don't come in. Sometimes we've seen the car in the very front garage and the very back garage, so the 1 and the 3 come in at the same time, but never the 2. But they're splitting it slightly differently, so they're now going to come into that slow zone, slow to 60 kilometres an hour through it, and then accelerate away. It had been rumoured that we were going to see some penalties in the first few laps of the race from some people that had broken the rules on these slow zones during the night qualifying. As we see the 7 car slowing to 60 kilometres an hour. The slippery surface flag out there, because now you're going to see the marshals there sweeping the gravel back into the gravel trap. And he's going to continue past there. Now, this slow zone, even though he's past the incident, he has to wait to be released from the slow zone. The slow zones are a set length, set distance, to be fair to all. So he's now going to crawl to the exit of that where he gets the green flag. But we are looking at a 30-second time period where the car is going slow. Off he goes, using the hybrid energy there you see on the bar, pulling that down, and away he goes. And he's now, the amount of energy is regulated per lap, and it's a 3-lap rolling average, so he can now use the energy he's just saved through that slow zone anywhere he likes on this lap. So the Audi guys, I think that's a very shrewd move. If they don't get the slow zone, then that's actually likely to leapfrog that car ahead of all of the others. But I don't think the marshals are going to be quite finished, and this is something that There's a lot of discussion over how fair these slow zones are going to be, because they're not a set number of times that each car's got to go through them. So it is going to have a massive effect on the strategy of these races.
The great thing is, it doesn't, lose a driver who has built up an X-second advantage, doesn't lose it.
Absolutely, but as we see the 26 car doing the same thing, and the 48 and the 24, the LMP2 cars, we don't expect these cars to go quite as far, but I would have expected one more lap from the LMP2 cars. They should be doing 11-lap stints, yeah, they're coming in for fuel, as is the 42 Caterham car driven by Tom Kimmer-Smith. So still this slow zone, so that actually won't have been an advantage for that Audi, because he will have gone through it in the same way as everybody else has. But had that gone away, which it can do at any time, as I say, it's not necessarily a fair thing that you will go through that slow zone, every car, the same number of times. It will play into the hands of the strategists. So the GTE class cars here, we see the 51 car still leading, but that Corvette C7R now catching onto the back of Jimmy Bruni, as we see one of the Porsches slow now. This is the 14 car.
And that's extraordinary. That's certainly not what we were expecting. And that is a worry. That's the number 14, and that's driven
by Neil Yarny at the moment. Yep. He's, wow. We didn't expect to see a chink in the armour this early. Those cars, they've been strong, certainly over a few hours. See if we can hear any team radio here. I don't think we're going to get team radio just yet. We're probably going to have to get it filtered, because it looks like there might be some obscene language being used. Almost like that car's stuck on the 60-kilometre limiter, Bob.
Yes, I wondered about that. Exactly. I wondered about that.
The gesticulation. They had this at Spa, where they had to do a full system reset during the live time on circuit. But I'd be surprised. There was a lot of criticism over what they did there, that they kept the car out and did that reset whilst coasting round. And I just wonder if we're seeing a repeat of that, because definitely engine still running, still definitely forward motion, but a very constant pace that seems to be stuck. And it does look a bit like 60 kilometres an hour to me.
Yes, it does, absolutely. It looks a very, very constant speed.
So we still have this slow zone in the first chicane, as we see the 14 car now making its way back towards us at the Ford chicane, showing that he's used all his hybrid energy for this lap. So, and it's stuck on the pit limiter. It is stuck on the pit limiter. We see it 60 kilometres an hour there.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
Wow, I'm surprised that we haven't just seen him do a system reset whilst coasting, which is what they were doing at Spa when they did have a similar problem with the hybrid system. It's going to be something as simple as swap a box, if they even need to do that. It may just be master switch reset while it's out on circuit, and it just seems to be just gesticulation, not much action going on in the cockpit.
One other thing we haven't perhaps commented on is Alessandro Imperatori has made it up into 10th place and first of the LMP2 cars in the Orica, ahead of Harry Tinknell, Tristan Gomendy and Jan Mardenborough. Those are the first few in that class.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that's good to see the Orica now coming through as the stint wears on.
Number 14 into the pits.
So Imperatori really on it now. That 47 car coming in now, that being the KCMG run Orica, Nissan, and so Harry Ticknell, I think, stays out.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So it looks like Harry can do an extra lap.
Yeah.
I know the man that designed the fuel tank for that car. That is interesting to see. If Harry can do that consistently, that's going to be a massive advantage for that car. I have a feeling that he won't be able to do that consistently, but let's see as we see the 41 Zytek coming in this lap, locking a wheel on its way into the pit lane, with the 33 following close behind, as we get the green flag of the slow zone now clear on the Mulsanne. Next slow zone will be cleared shortly. Note, so that message was slightly premature. We now have the message that the slow zone is still there on the screen.
So very interesting that Ticknell stayed out, whereas all these other guys came in and perhaps trying to get a tactical advantage by doing so, but all of a sudden that is negated by the track going green. What
would have been fantastic there would have been if for Harry and the guys, if that had gone green. It has gone green now, and I do wonder whether Harry's got there yet, because if he has, he's going to be well, if he hasn't, it's an advantage for him. And if he has to go through that one extra time, he is going to lose another 30 seconds, as we see the number 1 Audi coming in as expected now.
Number 3 Audi, that was, Bononomi coming in. That's after 10 laps. After 10 laps, might have expected more?
This first stint, difficult to say. Obviously, they had a lot of very quick running without traffic. And the green flag lap. Probably about right if they want to stagger them, because I think 11 for the next one would be where they would be. Obviously in traffic these guys save a lot of fuel. So the number 1 car now really coming through the Ford chicane in front of us to complete another lap. In the traffic, that's him in the leading GTE cars now, so he's now behind the GTE class leader, the 51. He's cleared that car, as we see now Ferrari, Corvette, Aston Martin.
How much closer do you want?
The GTE class is always just phenomenal. I'd love to see the Porsche on the back of that train, and I think we will see it, but the guys at Porsche, I think, playing a slightly different game there, as they've had a few issues through the week, and I think they want to see those cars to the end. And last year, same thing, they let the Astons run away and get on with it, and then who won the race? So we're looking for news now of the Porsche. Not seeing anything that's really telling me what's gone on there, but that 14 car definitely stuck on the limiter.
Hasn't gone out either, I don't think, has it? Still in the pits? Yeah, 14 still in the pits.
It seems like such a simple fix, but clearly more to it. So it has gone back into the garage.
Look at this column of cars. Absolutely amazing. Look at it.
This, the GTE-Am field, all grouped together, having a fantastic race. This is the pro drivers in the car at the moment.
Replay, sorry.
It did all look very, very close there. Be interesting just to see how the LMP2 field has panned out. Obviously, Harry still owes us a stop in that Jota Zytek, I suspect, on the in-lap now. But Christian Clean up to second, so the pit stop work there by the New Blood by Moran guys with the Morgan.
This was a Chevrolet getting ahead of the 51 Ferrari, but looks as though they've reversed again.
Yeah, so Harry now into the pits with in that leading LMP2 class car. Let's see if he manages to get out ahead. Christian Clean just coming through in the New Blood by Moran car as well. So he's managed to do that, stretch that extra lap. So it looks like the Morgans and the Zyteks have been able to do go that little bit further on their fuel.
The older cars.
Yeah.
And perhaps they're not awfully confident with the newer Ligiers of doing that many. Into the pits comes number 8. Toyota pits after 11, well, it's 12 after 12 laps.
So we're going to see a lot more pit visitors. Just interested to see the LMP2 class, who manages to get out ahead there. Harry Ticknell now on his way already.
Oh, look at these two. Oh, Chevrolet squeezes ahead of Ferrari. And that was, just hang on a second, it was Jan Magnussen, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
Jan.
it would be Jan.
Oliver Gavin watching very, very closely, showing how an old master does it.
Absolutely. As we see that Pegasus Racing car getting away from them now, the LMP2 car. Just trying to see what's going on here, because on the timing screens, Harry Ticknell's going out of the pits third. So the Ligier of Tristan Domedy managing to jump them. I just want to see a first sector time from each of those guys that we're going to have. Alexander and Paturi still leads.
Yeah. And there is the Porsche number 14. They're still working on it. At Spa, it took quite a long time for this hard reboot to take place if that's what it
It
was.
seems odd that they've got the engine cover off and they're trying to get in the back there and do something more mechanical, which I don't believe at Spa they had to do. They were able to reset those cars as they were running. There's something strange going on in the back of that car. So as soon as we have news, we'll let you know.
Yeah. So Voets from Lotterer, 26 seconds now, and that is a big advantage coming into the pits. It's that I think is possibly Nathaniel Berton.
So we're seeing a message here that Nick Manassian is going slowly through the Porsche curves.
Oh.
Be interesting to see what's happening there. There was a slight lick of smoke as that car came past us last time. So let's see. I'm trying to see, that is an SMP Racing Orica that we can see on the screen in amongst the GTE cars. There it is, going back into the garage, so the 37 back into the garage.
Yes, it came into the pits. I thought it was a car with 8, but in fact it was 37. That's how Manassian had quite a big accident in that during qualifying, so that has been the major problem for that car.
Those guys have been massively unlucky so far this week. They've seen that car off this morning as well, so yeah, a new chassis yesterday at the 7-car pits, so the 7 car coming in at the end of its 11th lap.
And that is the Toyota number 7.
The Nismo TV camera that we see here, this is on a wire and it has it's actually a little Nissan GTR hovering above the pit lane. So fantastic shots here above that stop. You see the refueling man in, making the connection to the car, and they'll be putting it, absolutely filling that car to the brim. He'll wait until he sees it as the 2 Audi comes in, clean the windscreen, and no tyres for that car, not surprising.
No change of driver either, so Alexander Voets stays in the car.
And
away it goes.
So double stinting those tyres as we expected, as all the 2 really nearly come together in the pit lane. There might be a few questions there as to whether that was an unsafe release from the Toyota, but I personally think that was fine.
Porsche comes in, number 20 from 3rd place.
So the 2 car, same thing, no tyres, full tank of diesel in their case. Good clean to the screen. One of the things, and the headlights, one of the things that we see with these coupes is very difficult to keep the screen clean, and they will have tear-offs on there, deciding that they're trying to save the tear-off. They don't want to be wasting those. They probably have 9 or 10 of those on the screen ready to pull off.
Quicker than obviously cleaning it by hand.
Absolutely, and you know, it just comes to a point where they'll wait, especially if we're expecting to see a rain shower, until they pull those tear-offs. They want to give the guys as much visibility as they can. These cars not easy to look out of, although this year's cars vastly improved over last through the safety measures put in place by the FIA and the ACO. So looking at the timing screens now, not a lot really. Seen a pit stop from everybody, other than the GTE cars.
So if we look at the major hitters, as it were, the number 1 Audi pitted after lap 9, the number 3 Audi after lap 10, and the number 8 Toyota lap 11, and then 7 Toyota, 2 Audi and 20 Porsche after lap 12. So
yeah, I'm not convinced we should read too much into that yet.
No.
I think we'll see some yo-yoing going on in the number of laps that they can do, but ultimately 14 is the aim. It is key, you know, these yellow slow zones will be key to that as well. If they can save just a little bit of fuel and stretch in another lap, it's very worthwhile, because if they can do that 4 or 5 times during the race, then they're winning, you know, big chunks of a stint. As we see a replay on the screen of the Audi trying to push the Toyota down the pit road. I don't think that was an unsafe release myself. I think that those 2 could have... I don't think the Audi even had to come off the limiter. Just very close. So the LMP2 car's filing through down at the end of the into Indianapolis. Is that? No, that's the Mulsanne Straight. As we see our leader, the 2nd Toyota.
understand the ZEOD problem again is a gearbox problem, and it doesn't look as though then we'll see it again, which is a real shame. There's the number 74. That's not the class leading one. That's the fourth in class, it says there. It was third in class anyway. Yeah. So unfortunate. There's a risking its life.
You're absolutely right, Bob. It is declared as a retirement, the ZEOD. So gutting for those guys. They've said that's it. That's the end. It's pretty terminal, the words used, but declared as a retirement. A shame for those guys. What those guys have done is massively innovative, and I hope we have an opportunity to talk to some of those guys and explain more about that project to you. Nissan, of course, coming back next year to the LMP1 categories. We see a fantastic battle here. The Toyota just trying to get past that number 2. So this is the battle between the 2 and the 8.
And Lapierre.
Some 27.5 seconds now up the road.
Isn't that fantastic? Look at those, seeing those two battling as though it's a sprint and having to deal with traffic at the same time. This is where racing drivers really earn their money, isn't it?
Absolutely, especially through these fast Porsche curves, heading down now towards a much slower Ford chicane. The 8 car now getting stuck behind an LMP2 car that we can't quite identify. There is in front of us. That's the... Nope, can't see which car it is. Yeah, he'll get clear of that now. And away he goes, so he's going to catch traffic again, I think, probably split by traffic up at the Dunlop curves as well. We see the 3 car come through. They're up behind the G-Drive Morgan, one of the very fancied cars for the victory in LMP2. And that's the LMP2 leader we're seeing there. The LMP2 leader getting squeezed by a GT, the Taizan car there, I think, the Taizan Ferrari 458, and in turn squeezing the Audi, but the Audi driver taking the right, avoiding action there, and getting well out of the way, letting those two get on with it.
Well, Imperatori, having started in on the grid in 16th place, up into 9th place now. Here's a replay. Yes, some smoke.
And in the background, yes.
Sorts of excitement's going on all at once.
Yeah, that helped the Toyota catch on to the back of the Audi again, so we're now going to start to see that battle happen. We're 14 cars still in the garage. So sad to see this. 14 minutes now spent in the garage. Car coming down and going to get turned round, so you'll see it get a full tank of fuel if it didn't already. Normally the teams will refuel the cars as soon as they arrive in the pit box. So we see it here, the change of position, the 20 Porsche driving past the 1 car. And this is what we saw during qualifying, that the Porsches and the Toyotas were just so much quicker than the Audis down the Mulsanne, and they were pulling a huge amount of time on them. So 3 together there. That's the 2 LMP2 cars. No, that is. So that's an Audi, a Toyota and an Audi, all starting to creep back up again. And the Porsche staying ahead of the Audi.
It's all so close, isn't it? They've got themselves, at least they've got themselves some clear air, but Audi going ahead of Porsche there. Number 1, Tom Christensen.
Just the strengths, different strengths around the lap. It is fantastic to see, because it is 3 different answers to the same question from these manufacturers, and they swap again there because that the lithium-ion battery on the Toyota, on the Porsche, you get really giving it some punch out of the corners, but at top speed the Quattro 4x4 Audi able to really stretch its legs. Could go on for hours, that battle, as they change position. The Toyota's ever so slightly quicker in the pits than the Toyota and the Porsche, I think, ever so slightly quicker in the pits than the diesel Audi.
Now, in fact, for 2nd place, we've got Lossera and Lapierre very close together as well, and we're expecting them to come through in a moment. Perhaps they've been split by traffic, which they have at the moment. In fact, there's 3 of them together. It's Lossera, Lapierre and Bononomi, all very close together.
Fantastic shots on the screen right now as the 20 car navigates its way through the traffic, through the karting corner, and now heading, some squeezing going on there for the Audi in front of it, but the 20 car, the Audi quicker in this last section, but this is not what we saw during the week.
Christensen and Bernhardt there.
As we see the 70 tyres and 458 coming into the pits.
So we've got some good battles out there. Admittedly, Alexander Wurz is over half a minute in the lead. Look at this traffic here. This is what it's all about. What's the advice to a driver when he sees a couple of LMP1s looming in his mirrors? Just stay
online, and so many times we see accidents because they don't. So yeah, absolutely, you tell them stay online. It's their job to pass you. You don't want to be going and getting pickup on your tyres, so large lumps of rubber attached to your hot tyres that can take absolute age to get off, if at all, as we see an interesting graphic here. Showing RPM versus just a slightly different way of describing it, the 8 versus the 3, so Toyota versus Audi. Very different rev range there. The big diesel V6 not revving to the same way as the V8 petrol engine. The graphic there, actually, that's an excellent way of showing how the energy is being used throughout the lap. You see Nick Lapierre there in the Toyota still using the energy where Marco Bononomi isn't. The green bar to the right-hand side of each of those coming down when the electrical energy is being put into the drivetrain. So Nick Lapierre used more of that energy earlier on in the lap, so we can expect to see the Audi now coming back at him with more energy left to use. And Toyota, Audi, that's a shot and a half.
And Toyota loving it. Hugues shown out there with the white hair we saw. Absolutely loving this, and now the Audi comes into its own to get past the Toyota. Will it get past the Toyota? That's the question. Look at these three, and this is after nearly 52 minutes of racing. Very early, of course.
I was going to say Nick Lapierre there, I thought had learned his lesson, go to the inside and don't worry about it. But the Audi still managing to go all the way around the outside of him before they turned into...
Audi like that.
Turned into Mulsanne. As they come out of Arnage on the run up to Indianapolis, flying now down, you see a lovely shot there of the scenic areas of Le Mans, just on the outside of Le Mans here. Lots of residential houses probably been taken over by teams for the week, and everybody else gone on holiday as they come through the Porsche curves, catching the Tracy Crone 458 there at just the wrong point, and they can't take the risk or going around the outside of Tracy's car there. That's brave.
so quick, but the Audi has established itself ahead of the number 8 Toyota.
So the Toyota not able to get back past later in the lap. So let's see. As I say, these are some really different answers to the same question. And just fantastic to see these cars battling like this, because I don't think we necessarily expected it to be this close this early on.
And Audi can't quite get... Oh, it has now, but more an Aston.
Yeah, so you hear Nick Lapierre there saying they have a lot of power, they have a lot of power. Yeah, we can see that, but he's got quite a bit out of the corners.
There he is, he's being eaten up by the other Audi, so he drops back into 4th place now. So it's Wurz with a lead of about 34 seconds from Lotterer, then Bononomi, then Lapierre now in 4th place. Christensen, how far is Christensen behind him? About another 30 seconds further back. Christensen.
We saw in the Porsche, not Super Cup, Carrera Cup race, just before the Le Mans 24-hour began, those cars suffering with a lot of left rear punctures. So a repeat of that.
Number 79, really unfortunate there. The Porsche is quite some way down, or it certainly is now with the puncture. Who is driving that car? Way at the bottom, I think. 79. Oh, Jerome Bleekeman.
that was very close, and there are flags there, so I'm surprised to see a mistake like that, but luckily it didn't end in tears as they were trying to pass. So the unsafe release we were talking about for car 7, I think they should get away with that. It was tight, as we see the 3 Audi running off circuit, going around that Corvette, and the Toyota going to the other side of it. That was fantastic.
This is the replay, yeah. Oh, look at that. Corvette was thinking, where am I? I've got these LMP1 things crawling all over me. Help! And
of course, Corvette with a very innovative system in that car where they... Oh, we have our first reel off. Try and see, that's the 61 car, I think. Yeah, it is the 61 car. 61 car being, he grabs some pieces of paper and has a shuffle. That's the Lupe Compact. Marco Ciocci at the wheel, with Mirko Venturi. So GTE-Am car, one of the favoured cars. So what happened here? Oh, he turned in on the front of one of the LMP2 Ligers there and just got turned around. So you can't be doing that. You've got to pay more attention to what's around you. And we talked about getting in online, but maybe it was a bit of a late move. But I think that LMP2 car, pretty obvious, he couldn't back out of that. He had no more stopping power than what he was already doing. Yeah. So 61 under waved yellows at the moment, just waved yellows, not this slow zone procedure. I think we'll see that car being pulled out and he'll be able to continue. Just one of those driver errors there. I think that you don't turn in on a faster car that can't slow down any more than it already is. He was pretty committed. Might have been his issue. He may not have been able to make that move, but it's he's the faster car, and you've got to watch your mirrors. Just going back to what we said about the Corvette there, the Corvette has a GPS system inside that car. It's a radar and GPS system combined, where they can see on a screen, big TV screen within the cockpit, who is coming at them, and they have different colour arrows depending on the class of the car that's coming at them, and they can see which side they're going. So the system will have been going mad at the driver there, saying you've got an LMP1 car on either side of you. Might even have confused it a little.
It's quite a lot of we saw quite a lot of bodywork coming off that car, and yet no LMP2 car coming into the pit, so we're not certain which of the Ligiers it made contact with. We had Ligier in second place with Jan Mardenborough in class, and Tristan Gomendi in third place in class.
It was the usual very light contact that can turn a car around when you're loaded up.
Yeah.
He'd started to turn in. You see that very much in touring car racing. When a car's loaded up, you can spin it on a sixpence.
So we still have Wildest out in the lead with a 36-second lead from Lotterup, Bononomi and Lapierre, all very close together.
So we'll see how this one pans out as they come past the... and jink into the 92 Porsche GTE car there, as they run up out of the Mulsanne corner. So yeah, that is the P2 car, the Lava Run car, now running away. And the G-Drive Morgan there, also in the thick of things. So that is really a tight battle there with all of those cars bunched together, all those LMP2 cars. The Murphy Prototypes car there also catching on to the back of them. Those guys, I think, one of the favoured ones for that, as we see that lovely camera arnage on the exit curb there. Fantastic view. So running up towards the Porsche curves, we see they have got that car out of the gravel trap now, so that car will now be sent on its way as we see a replay. Did they actually touch on the apex? It was as he turned in. I think they did just touch, but it's that usual thing of you see a loaded up car being able to be turned round on the apex very, very easily. But
nobody's told them it's a 24-hour race, I would say.
It's like a sprint, isn't it?
It's absolutely incredible, and not only the intensity of the race, but the speed of the cars. Did you see the Toyota accelerate when he left the slow zone? Yeah. Did you watch the speedometer? It was incredible.
All the figures that on the readouts, just like spinning.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think we're in for a really good show. GT just looks mad right now, and I think with the new technologies in P1, who knows what's going to happen.
Now, unfortunately, they didn't know you were about to become an MBE. Otherwise, they would have given you the flag to wave, I'm sure. But you're here for a special reason, aren't you?
Yeah, well, the guy that waved the flag's pretty handy.
Do you think so? He did notice the cars and he saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps.
I think he's pretty handy, that boy. And did he drive the 512S? Did he let drive the
I think it's a P4 or P3.
Was it a P? Okay.
Well, I think it's a P.
I didn't get to see it. I just saw the windscreen outline and I was pretty jealous, I must admit. But yeah, no, I'm over here, obviously, watching the race and hanging out, and I was hoping my little brother Marino was going to be driving after winning Sebring at the start of the year, but wasn't to be, so we just came over for a bit of a road trip, and at the same time I'm an ambassador for safeisfast.com, so they've brought me over here as well, and to talk about that a bit.
So what is that about, Safe is Fast?
Well, it's really a resource for drivers, whether you're a young driver starting out, whether you're a guy who races historic cars, really anybody. I've been on it and learned a couple of things from some of my rivals because I listen to what they say, but it's completely free, and you go on there and you listen to these tutorials, whether it's from drivers talking about how to overtake. One of the guys earlier could have had that with the Ferrari incident. It's preparing mentally, physically, PR side of things. I was lucky I had Jackie Stewart there when I was coming up through, doing all that stuff for me, and at the same time surrounding me with people that taught me all this stuff, the engineering side of things. Most of the time I listened, sometimes I didn't, but not everybody's got that advantage, and safeisfast.com provides that. It's completely free. We're very fortunate to get Honda to come on board this year from Honda America, and they have sponsored it, and it's something that Bobby Rahal sort of started the whole thing with the Road Racing Drivers Club in America, and it's been really good, and it's making a lot of difference, I think.
Now, after all your many successes in the States, sadly, you're not allowed to race any longer, are you?
I'm not, and you know, that's actually, that car around there was maybe in my future. But no, I'm really unfortunate that you know, with the accident last year at Houston, but the doctors just said no, it's just not possible anymore. The repercussions of another accident would be too bad, and so that was that.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, yeah, not even historic racing, any of that stuff, and
really nothing.
No, nothing at all. And I'd actually planned to come here in a couple of years' time and race here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and had some nice discussions with some of the with a manufacturer very close to my heart, and I thought we were going to do something for next year, but with the accident it wasn't to be.
It's going to be your pension, was it?
No, it was just going to be fun. It was just going to be a load of fun. I've been really lucky to race an IndyCar and win the 500 3 times and some championships, and I really felt that as close as that is to my heart, this was going to be the next the next chapter.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm still working with the target team with Chip Ganassi Racing, and the Audis are getting pretty close there, pretty racy. So I still get to do that, which I'm really, really happy with.
Does this new technology, fascinate you? For example, where the Audis sort of are quite a lot quicker on certain parts of the circuit, the Toyotas are quicker elsewhere?
It really does, and the difference between whether it's the way each manufacturer's come to it. Look at that. I mean, I have to say the Toyotas look pretty quick, but the Audis, I think, have been sandbagging just a little bit in practice and qualifying. They look very strong, and if there's one thing they know how to do, it's win the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
And what must it be like for these guys threading from a driver's point of view, threading their way through this traffic? Unbelievable.
I think it must be very difficult. Obviously, I've never raced here at Le Mans, but done Daytona and Sebring. But the closing speeds with these cars, it really is incredible. And it's not so much on the straight anymore, it's the mid-corner speeds. I mean, they're something like 40 kilometers an hour quicker through the Porsche curves than they were 4 or 5 years ago. 40 kilometers an hour, it's mighty. And that's with a smaller tire too, so you can see with some of the mistakes that have been made, these guys are not cruising. This is not a reliability run anymore. This is a 24-hour sprint race, and as spectators and fans of racing, we're lucky to get to see it.
Well, they're only lapping about 4 or 5 seconds off their qualifying pace.
Yeah, I saw a 23 earlier. Yeah. Somebody, I think it was Virtue did a 23. Obviously, he had his Weetabix this morning. Yeah, 3:23.1. Look,
yeah.
So he's up for the fight. Look how close they're all running together. I just think it's going to be a great race. It's a wonderful event to come to as a fan. I've really enjoyed myself.
And lots of people have been coming up to you. I'm wishing you well, and hopefully today they've all been congratulating you on your MB.
Yeah, it's been lovely to see a lot of old friends to hang out with the race fans. We stayed down at the Hotel de France, and there was a whole scene going on there too. It's one of the things I feel very fortunate to be able to come to these events and really enjoy it, and as a fan. And I've got a couple more planned, going to Goodwood in a couple of weeks, and then the British Grand Prix as well. So I've got my busman's holidays planned for the summer, and then back to the IndyCar Series in Toronto, and hopefully see the Target boys win a couple more races.
Well, enjoy the road trip. I believe it's in something quite sporty by the sounds of things, as you weren't able to bring your respective wives.
Well,
you went Marino?
Marino and I came down. He was, as I say, supposed to be driving. Didn't turn out that way, so we brought I have a Carrera GT, and we brought that down. Luggage room was at a premium. We only fell out once over a wrong direction. He was the co-driver, but yeah, it was just an absolute blast. And we found a couple of tunnels on the way down too, and got to make some good noise. So it's been a lot of fun.
And you're going up to Normandy to have a look at the beaches.
Yeah, going to Normandy on Monday and Tuesday, and you know, obviously with the anniversary as well. It's
so quickly on an MBE was Alain Prost when he won, I think, OBE, which I'd actually nominated him for.
Good man.
I'm afraid the service is no longer available, but so I'm delighted to talk to you, and thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you at Goodwood as well.
We'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you. So, little message there from Lena Gates talking to the number 2 Audi, which is currently in 3rd place, Aldrin Lotterer. So, Giles, what have you discovered? You didn't really have time to go over the pits, so...
No, I've made it out and just consulted a couple of the guys out the back. The SMP racing car, the Nick Manasseh car, looks like we've lost that car from the race, unfortunately. With an engine failure, which is those Nissans are normally near indestructible. So that's the 37 SMP car out with an engine.
That really has been in the wars as well, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, the number 7 car has been reported to the stewards for that unsafe release.
Yeah, so I think they're going to leave it to the stewards to make the decision now. Eduardo Freitas and his team deciding that they haven't got the time to investigate that, so let the stewards get on and do it. Either that or it's just too contentious for them to make a decision. So the panel of stewards, which will consist of people from various ASNs, the local motorsport governing bodies, will sit down in a room and talk about that. I hope we don't see the 7 taking a big penalty for that. I don't think that was an unsafe release. It was very close, but you know, we do have a fast and a slow lane here, and what we saw there was, yeah, he came across into the fast lane, but the Audi didn't have to brake, and we're here and we're looking at the millimetres, and that's exactly what they did. And all these teams have a line on the pit wall that the guy with the lollipop can use as his reference marker for release, and to me it looks like he got it absolutely spot on the money. So let's see, the stewards may decide different, and I'm sure there'll be somebody from Audi down there banging on the door saying you need to give them a penalty, because we now see that car some 37 seconds up the road and still pulling away from the number 3 Audi. And we now, one thing that we have seen now is the number 2 Audi pit the 8 car. The 8 car, obviously the car, the Toyota we saw have a little off on the second chicane at the Mulsanne, but no damage there. So I wonder whether they just, the balance of that number 8 Toyota not quite where the guys want it, but those 3 still running together, the Audi and the Toyota, 3, 2 and 8. So the other thing that we saw there was some of the LMP2 cars having a small offs while you were talking to Dario, with the 27 car going straight on through the gravel trap, but rejoining and no issues there at all. And yeah, just this LMP1 battle continues as we see the 2 pass the 3.
The 2 Audis still absolutely neck and neck, side by side on the Mulsanne straight.
This could go wrong, because we've now got 2 Ferrari 458s going side by side. The Ram racing car tucking in there. I'm not sure which the other car. It looks almost like it's the 2 Ram racing cars racing each other. I'd be surprised by that. Can't quite see the colours with the screen we have. But the Audis cleared them, and the Toyota falling back. So the 2 Audis working together to use the toe to break away from that Toyota.
Fascinating. We're up to 20 laps, so this could be when number one comes in fairly soon. It stopped after 9 laps, so after another 11 or 12, it'll be interesting to see from Tom Christensen. It'll be a little bit of what can we say? It's not a warning, but
this is the gauge for the rest of the race.
Yeah, exactly.
This stint, no shadow of a doubt about it. We want to see 14 laps out of all of these cars, and I'll be very surprised if we don't. That said, the pace is relentless. So who knows? They may be down to 13, but you know, looking at the LMP2 class, I'm very interested by the fact that Harry Ticknell in that Jota Zytek seems to be falling back at the rate of a couple of seconds a lap, as we see yellow at Marshall's Post 100. I think I saw a Ferrari 458 going slowly. Yes,
100 is an Arnage, yeah.
That's the 8-star car. I think we've just passed the orange 8-star car going very slowly coming out of Arnage. So see what happened there as the last remaining SMP Orica holds these cars. The Audi's up right through the karting section now at Porsche curves. No, sorry, we're still very early in the Porsche curves. But they're going to be stuck behind him right through karting, as he then has to negotiate a Porsche that does the right thing, uses that new runoff. And I think that's a fantastic thing they've done, putting in that extra runoff. It's exactly why it was needed to allow that to happen. So the SMP car ducking into the pits anyway, and the Audi's now filing through with the Toyota just behind. And wow, just this race is absolutely electric. Yes,
it is, isn't it?
Alex Wirtz is running away in the front, but the battle behind is just something to behold. I think this could go on all night.
Porsche not really involved at the moment.
Of course, we've not heard what's happened to the 14 car,
and
it's something I was trying to find out about while I was off air there.
I'm sure we were right.
I'm confident, but what I'm really confused about is why it's taking so long to deal with that.
Yeah.
So car 90 continued and is now slow, which is what we talked about.
Now, but it's back in 50th place as number one comes in. Number one comes in, and that's number Tom Christensen. This was the one we wanted. 13 also comes in. This is after lap 21.
Surprised to see that Rebellion coming in, so again we'll keep an eye on that. That should be going a lot further than that. So just looking for an update also on this unsafe release situation, and not able to get anything there. I don't think we're going to see much. Right on the Audis again.
Absolutely. This is the battle for third with the two Audis of Losser and Bononomi and Lapierre. Now we had Christensen come in. As I say, he pitted on lap 9. This is now 12 laps later.
So we're going to see at least one more from those guys. We're not going to see it duck in, and this battle will get split as the pit stops roll through, but it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out in terms of who's the quicker. We should see the Toyota jump the Audis with the pit stops. The Toyota fills a little bit quicker than the Audi, so they can get their fuel in slightly quicker, although it's supposed to be fairly equal. And we shouldn't, I don't think we'll see tyres, but this bar we have along the bottom here, comparing what they're doing, and the particular interest here, the very right-hand, the green battery, if you like, over on the right-hand side of the graphic, seeing how they've used their energy. Very even now for the remainder of the lap, and that's something that we'll see as the race goes on, them use certainly differently depending on where they are in traffic. You see Nick Lapierre there using it to boost through, and now he'll use it all. They're all using it coming out of Arnage on the run up to the Porsche curves. Both got the Toyota slightly less left than the Audi.
So we've got actually all the LMP2 cars into the pits. Imperatori, Mardenborough, Gomendi, Maya, the first four. Tingle stays out as he did last time. And then Panciatici and Berton also into the pits.
Absolutely, and that's going to be critical to Ticknell's race and the Jota car, because if they can do this every single stint, they are going to save pit stops, one if not two. And with the pace of the car, they do look to be slightly slower than the other cars in that class, especially as the tyres are wearing. it should be good to see them towards the end now, then really reeling it back as they save those stops. We'll have a look at how that one pans out as the night goes on. The other car that's managing to do more laps than anybody else in that class at the moment, the Christian Clean Moran Morgan. So again, I think we were expecting that. I do know that the Ligiers have a small fuel pickup problem, and that's the reason we're not seeing them go further. It's not really going to affect their strategy during the race. It's if we have a safety car that might come into it, or if we have a large amount of yellow zones, or sorry, the slow zones, that's going to come into it. They might not be able to gain a lap where they should elsewhere. They're leaving about 0.8 of a kilo of fuel in the bottom of the tank.
It's not very much. All the Toyotas being a bit blocked in there, but goes way offline to overtake an LMP2 car and a GT car as well in this battle for second place. 36 seconds behind Alexander Wurz.
Yeah, absolutely. This battle is going to just rage on. As I say, the Toyota should jump the Audis come the stops, which we'll see probably one of them ducking in at the end of this. Which car was it that pitted first, Bob?
Sorry,
which car was it that pitted first in terms of the Audis? Because I think we should be seeing the Audi number 1.
Yeah, first of all, well, that has come in after 12 laps.
So now we're going to see the 2.
So next up is going to be next up is going to be number 3.
Okay, so it's going to be the 3 car we see come in at the end of this lap, we believe. Still, oh wow, 3, 4 abreast. Gosh. Yeah, why not? 4 abreast down the Mulsanne straight. The Audi had to back out of that.
What speed?
200 miles an hour. Yeah. 310 kilometres an hour. These guys doing down here. It's phenomenal. At least 310. I think the quickest car we've seen so far down the straight this weekend, until the race started at least, was that because. So yeah, as we expected, the 3 car boxing this lap. When they hear box, that's them coming to the pits for fuel. Be interesting to see if they take tyres. But the quickest car we've seen down the straight so far this weekend, the 8 Toyota Kazuki Nakajima on his qualifying lap. Interestingly, the second quickest car we've seen so far with this weekend, the Nissan R90 CK Group C car. Quicker than any of the other LMP1 cars. So Nissan's getting their bit in.
What sort of speed are we talking about?
338.1 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
That's some speed. So yeah, we're going to see the 3 car duck in, so it's following the 2 car, so it doesn't hold this up out on pit in. But the Toyota really falling back now.
That's again 12 laps.
So the magic 14 just doesn't seem to be there. Let's see if the Toyotas can do it.
Yeah.
Even if the Toyotas can do 13, we're going to be. They're going to have an advantage.
So Ticknell again pitted a lap later.
Yep, they're able to go to what I believe will be an 11-lap stint.
So he hasn't stretched it anymore.
No.
Still the same.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Audi comes in onto pit road now, onto the pit limiter, 60 kilometres an hour all the way down that pit lane. And then he'll turn right into the pit garage with a nice clear approach, hopefully. The Audi guys are always very good at managing their neighbours. They always are for the same garages, with a little bit more room to the front of them, as they're joined between the new and the old pit buildings. So in he comes, all calm, no... We hear a wheel gun, but I don't think that's in the Audi pit. I think that is the Audi going into a 3rd stint, as we expected on its Michelins. Be the hard compound tyre, which we'll see them go to a medium or a soft during the night. And they may even quadruple stint those tyres, depending on how cool the track gets. But we'll see how that one pans out. That'll be in the very early hours of the morning.
We haven't actually gone into the track temperatures or conditions.
So interesting. Audi able to triple stint the tyres clearly. but they're talking about doing 2 more doubles, or another double stint on the. So maybe the Toyota are going to take tyres now, by the sounds of that, with the rain coming, and that could be a shrewd move, because we heard the report there's going to be local rain somewhere on the circuit. Clearly not enough to worry about going to the Michelin Intermediate tyre, which does work fantastically well in the dry also. But it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out, because if the Toyota can only double on its tyres, I'd be very surprised. Clearly he's thinking that they're going to leave the driver in there, Nick Lapierre in there for a quadruple stint. So you will generally change tyres when you change driver, and the drivers cannot do more than 3 hours in the car.
Depending on what happens here, we've got 23 laps. The others came in after 11 laps. Number 8 came in after 11 laps. So this could be 13 laps from the Toyota when it comes in.
It may
Number 8
even manage the 14. I don't know whether that was them talking about coming in on this lap. They were talking about what to do when it came in, but I didn't hear box, and then the conversation, which is what we would expect to hear. And we are expecting 14 lap stints as the 7 car comes through to complete, I believe, its 13th lap of this stint.
Yeah, that'll be the 12th lap of this stint.
So he's now on his 13th, and we'll see what happens now with the other Toyota coming through the 8 car, as we see the 2. That is the 20 Porsche now flying again, I think. Timo Bernard with Marco Bononomi behind him. Sorry, that one had me over a little there, that image. But Marco Bononomi dropping back slightly there.
Was on his way out.
Yes, he's on his out lap.
Yeah.
So Porsche's just not really seeming to have the pace.
No. Now into the pits, number 8. So that's after.
That's a 13 lap stint, isn't it?
Yeah.
So still not the magic 14. Light rain reported at Marshall's Post 18, which is Tête Rouge, I believe. Yeah, that's on the way out of Tête Rouge onto the Mulsanne Straight. So that's not somewhere we like rain. Very quick part of the track, but if it's only light, there won't be any opportunity there to cause too much hassle. As we see the number 20 Porsche coming through karting, heading down into the Ford chicane now, and then starting another lap. So the Toyota away. Interesting, you hear the Toyota absolutely silent as it drove away there. The car driving away on its supercapacitor, and then only once it reaches the pit lane speed limit of 60 kilometres an hour, firing that V8 engine. And he'll now reach the end of pit, and away he goes. So wet race declared. Eduardo Freitas and his team declaring, if you want to go and put some wets or inters on, you can, which until he declares that, you cannot do. So I think expecting a bit more rain than we're seeing right now.
Now, at the moment, we've got 13 laps from... we should have 13 laps from Toyota. We're expecting, therefore, the leader in on the next lap, Alexander Wurz.
It's quite wet, Bob.
Rooster tails, it is a bit. Oh, yes.
It's very wet.
That's nasty.
And this is at the start of their stint. And this is what was forecast, and about 20 minutes later than we were expecting it. Wow, that's a lot of water just come out of the sky, and these guys now struggling around on their slicks. This is going to play into the hands of the I don't know what I'd do if I was the team manager, but this is going to play into the hands certainly of the Porsches who are yet to stop, and Andre Lotre and Alexander Wurz. No, because of course we've seen the but all of those guys is playing into the hands of. If they can go to the Michelin wet, if they feel they need it.
But it is just a Tête Rouge at the moment, isn't it? It doesn't seem to have...
They're going to have to make a decision now as to what they want to do. They could easily go to the Michelin, if they believe this is going to set in, they could use what they call the sponge tyre, which is a very soft compound slick. It doesn't actually have any cuts in it, and it does last remarkably well on a dry track. But they've got to expect it to be a lot heavier and a lot more prolonged than I think we actually expect it to be. But they're going to have to be the ones with the best information as we see the 7 in. So we're expecting to see, I think, that car changed tyres now, and they're going to do a double stint. Very efficient way of doing it to keep the driver in for as long as possible, which certainly in these conditions is critical to not be throwing a new driver at it. This guy, he knows, Alex Wirtz knows, tyres ready. Scrubbed hards by the looks of it. They might change the compound. And the two in as well. So will they change tyres? We know that they're planning on triple stinting the other cars. So be interesting to see as the Toyota boys go to work changing the tyres. He's coming in, cruising down.
13 lap stints as well. We're getting a little bit.
We've got some fairly heavy rain in front of us now, yeah. Absolutely, at the Ford chicane. It's people running for cover in the grandstands. Yeah, an awful lot of water coming out of the sky as we see the 42 Caterham. I think that's Tom Kimber-Smith at the wheel of that car. Not a mistake I'd expect from Tom. No, that's young Matt McMurray, the youngest driver here, youngest driver ever now to start Le Mans 24-hour, having a spin as he comes through the Old Forest S's, that left-hand section for Tertre Rouge right-hander. And yeah, harmless spin, but you know, I think 16 and 199 days, is it, Bob?
Sorry, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Oh, there's still
heavy rain now, and I think, yeah, lots of cars coming in. The guys with the best weather forecasts are going to be the ones that benefit from this. So the 20 Porsche, as I alluded to, coming down pit road now with the opportunity, the greatest opportunity to gain from this. And coming in, it really is raining cats and dogs now. So, the roll of the dice, what do they do? The 20 car in, no tyres waiting for it yet.
I mean, it's definitely, I would say it's definitely a shower because, I mean,
there's no clouds around us.
Yeah,
absolutely. But equally, how much time can you afford to lose? We're seeing everybody headed for the pits now. The 46, the 95, the Jota Zytek, the 91 Porsche continues round. He's trying to stay out. The 48 comes in now as well. 72, and the 7 off. The 7's been off.
No, 7 rejoins coming out of the pits.
No, that's on the Mulsanne.
Well, that was earlier on, in which case, because he's just coming out of the pits.
Okay, so that was on his in lap.
Yeah, exactly.
92 struggling with the rain up at Dunlop chicane. This is some rain. There is now standing water. This is you would be very wet if you were stood out in this shower. Everybody filing into the pits. There's going to be a